My beloved child, listen closely to my voice in this early morning hour. When the footprints of the night still linger upon the earth and the light has not yet fully touched the world, I call your name in the quiet. For there is a profound truth. I long to plant within your soul something generations have forgotten, something the noise of the world has veiled from human minds. It is my Sabbath, the day I set apart from the very beginning of creation, the day into which I breathed holiness, peace, and restoration. My child, I want you to know that when I instituted this day, I did not do it because I needed it. I did it because humanity needed a doorway back into the wellspring of life. When I fashioned the heavens, the earth, the seas, the forests, the grasses, the winds, the stars, and the light, everything I made carried intention. But when I paused, I did not stop out of fatigue as humans imagine. I stopped to engrave upon creation an unchanging marker, a day into which all creatures are invited to enter rest in me, that their souls might find a stillness no amount of strength, wisdom, or personal striving could ever purchase. When I blessed that day and declared it holy, I prepared a dwelling place for the human soul, an invisible fortress where the spirit could take refuge from the storms of life. But through many generations, people have lost the ability to enter that day. They chase after work, drown in the calls of the world, and pursue success by their own strength, forgetting that no blessing flows from labor alone, but from my presence. They place their trust in effort, their hope in cleverness, their future in their own plans, not realizing that rest is the very breath their souls require to live. Just as the body needs air, it rarely pays attention to. Humanity has forgotten something simple yet profound. The Sabbath is not an empty span of time, but a sacred space where I dwell. I know you have tried to hold on to your peace, but your strength alone cannot keep it. Your soul was not designed to carry its burdens alone. When I created you, I placed within your being a quiet longing, a deep ache that yearns for me, a silent desire to return to the Sabbath rest I established. This longing is like the beating of your heart. You do not see it, yet it keeps you alive. And my holy Sabbath is the place where that longing is finally answered, a place where your soul kneels, immerses itself in peace beyond understanding, and receives healing for weariness you cannot put into words. Many believe rest is only for the body, but my child, my rest goes far deeper. The body rests when it lies down. The mind rests when it ceases to worry, but the soul rests only when it abides in me. You may sleep enough hours and still feel drained, because your soul has not stepped into my calm. You may take a day off and still feel unrestored, because you have not found the doorway into the peace I prepared for you long before you could speak, think, or love. That is why I call you today, not to give you another truth to learn, but to invite you into a reality to live in. I know you live in a world that praises those who never stop, those who stay up late and rise before dawn, those who sacrifice sleep to achieve results. But, my child, the world only sees the surface. I see the price paid within the soul, the hardening of the heart, the drying up of joy, the slow extinguishing of the inner flame. Humanity admires busyness. I bless those who know how to stop, for only when you stop before me can you see the true purpose of your own steps. When I spoke of the Sabbath, I was not giving you a harsh command. I was placing a shield in your hands. The Sabbath protects you from exhaustion, from the illusion that you must carry everything alone. The Sabbath is where I remind you that you are not the source of life. You are simply a receiver of the stream that flows from me. If you insist on holding everything with your own hands, eventually those hands will tremble from fatigue. But if you place these things in my hands, they will stand firm under an unchanging power. My child, the command of the Sabbath is an invitation into freedom, freedom from anxiety, freedom from invisible burdens, freedom from trying to become whole by your own strength, freedom from pressures that make you forget me. On that day, I invite you to see everything through my light, the light that helps you rediscover the true value of life. You will realize this: the things that trouble you when you stand in the world become small when you stand in me. The things you cling to become lighter when you release them into my hands. The fears you thought you could never overcome dissolve when you look at them from the place of rest. The Sabbath is where I teach you the language of silence. In that language, there is no complaining, no self-condemnation, no accusation, no inner pushing. There is only my voice, gentle as a breeze, powerful as thunder, and tender as the breath of dawn. On the Sabbath, I draw nearer to you than you ever imagined, not because the day itself is holier than others, but because your heart opens on that day. When you stop, you hear me more clearly. When you release your striving, you feel my presence more deeply. When you lay down your worries, you can step into the deepest places of my heart, the places where I hide my richest treasures, reserved for those who know how to rest in me. On my Sabbath, I teach you to walk, not by pressure, but by the rhythm of my presence. The world teaches you to run, I teach you to walk. The world teaches you to grasp, I teach you to receive. The world teaches you to fight, I teach you to be still while I fight for you. Many of my children try to serve me by their own strength and then collapse in exhaustion. But, my child, the service that pleases me is not born from tired hands. It is born from a soul that has rested in me. Without rest, even good work becomes a burden. But when you work from a place of rest, your labor becomes worship. When the heart is rested, everything you do becomes a fragrant offering. Remember this: the Sabbath is not a reward for those who have accomplished enough. It is the right of every child I love. You do not need to be worthy to enter. You only need to come. And when you come, I will do for you what you cannot do for yourself. I will recreate you from within. The holy Sabbath stands open like a wide gate. No one can shut it. No age can erase it. No power can destroy the intention I placed in it. You only need to enter. Once a week, let me reset the rhythm of your soul. Loosen the invisible knots. Wipe away the dust that clouds your mind, and remind you that you do not live by work, but by every word that proceeds from my mouth. The Sabbath is a command, but also a grace, a responsibility, but also a gift, a calling, but also a refuge. And I speak this with solemnity and love. If you keep the Sabbath will keep your soul. If you set that day apart for me, it will become the anchor of all your other days. If you come to me on that day, the rest of your week will carry the mark of peace. Therefore, return to my holy command, not as one wearing a yoke, but as one who has found a home. For the Sabbath does not confine, it liberates. It does not chain the feet, it opens the door. It does not demand, it offers. I stand waiting for you in that day, with open arms. My child, now that you have understood the intention I placed within the Sabbath as a holy command, I desire to lead you deeper into a dimension invisible to the human eye. For there is a profound layer that much of humanity has walked past without ever pausing to recognize. The Sabbath is not merely a block of time marked on a calendar, nor only a moment of refraining from ordinary work. It is a doorway into a sacred reality where your soul aligns itself with my breath, where my presence permeates the very bloodstream of creation. A person may keep the Sabbath outwardly, yet never partake in its reality, just as one may stand at the door but never step inside the house. Therefore, today, I want you not merely to stand near, but to truly enter, to go deeper, to reach the place where rest is no longer an outward act but becomes an imprint upon your soul. The Sabbath is a shadow of an eternal reality, not only for the future, when every tear will be wiped away and no burden remains, but also as an invitation for you to taste the breath of the everlasting kingdom even now. In the midst of earthly challenges, what you experience in one set-apart day is only a fraction of the vast peace I intend for you. I did not give the Sabbath merely as a pause, but as a preparation so your heart might learn the rhythm of heaven, so you might pull the eternal reality into your present life and walk in its light, even while your days still carry bruises. Many of my children think rest belongs only to a distant future, but what I have prepared for you is not far off. My rest can be experienced now, when your soul knows how to place itself wholly in me. When you do this, your soul is not merely relieved of burden, it is lifted into another realm, where worry loses its authority, where fear loses its voice, where my presence covers your entire being. That rest does not depend on circumstances, nor on where you are, nor on the behavior of others. It lies in the posture of a soul that takes refuge in me as a young bird hides beneath its mother's wings. The Sabbath is not merely something you step into for a single day to change your rhythm. It is something you can carry with you like a seal upon your forehead and like breath within your heart. When your soul truly immerses itself in my rest, you will carry that imprint into all 6 remaining days. You will find that your inner being is no longer shaken as easily as before, that words which once wounded you deeply no longer have the same power, that pressures which once made you tremble now rise only as small waves beneath your feet. It is not because these things disappear, but because your soul has been lifted to a higher place where I myself am the fortress surrounding you. When a person does not know how to rest in me, they live by what their eyes see and their ears hear, being controlled by circumstances and emotions. But when their soul steps into the reality of the Sabbath, they begin to live by what I speak, no longer tossed about like a leaf in the wind. My promises become the axis around which their life turns. Trust becomes their very breath, and the life that flows from me revives them far beyond what they imagined possible. I know you have had days when your heart felt unbearably heavy, days when you felt pushed to the very edge, days when you tried to appear strong while your soul trembled like a flickering lamp in the wind. And I want you to know that every moment you felt yourself collapsing was never hidden from my sight. Those very moments were the cry of your soul, the call I have long been waiting for so I could bring you back into my rest. Your weariness is not a sign of weakness. It is the reminder that you were never meant to walk alone. The emptiness you feel is not a lack of faith. It is an alarm that you have drifted away from my breath. The moments you struggle through by yourself do not define you. They are the moments where I stand waiting for you to lean your head upon my chest and release the sorrow you have carried for far too long. When I call you into my rest, I am not merely inviting you to stop working. I am inviting you to stop carrying what was never your responsibility, to stop running in order to prove your worth, to stop clutching worries that have no power to save you. I call you to leave the land of pressure and step into the land of stillness. I invite you to cease fighting the battles in your mind so that I may fight for you. I urge you to lay down burdens I never asked you to carry and return to the place where your soul breathes with the very breath of my life. The Sabbath in me is where I intervene, where darkness is kept outside the threshold, where accusations lose their voice, where your understanding is illuminated by a higher wisdom, where decisions become clear in the light of my presence, where the wounds you hide deep within your heart are healed by my hand alone, where what once seemed shattered is gathered piece by piece and made new. And within this rest, I breathe life into dreams you thought had died, warm the parts of your soul that grew cold from disappointment, lift you with my powerful arm, and place you exactly where you belong in my rest. Rest itself is a victory. For in my kingdom, the one who truly overcomes is not the one who runs faster, performs more, or receives praise from the crowd. The one who overcomes is the one who finds rest in me, for that person can no longer be shaken by the world, no longer lives under the expectations of others, no longer moves according to circumstances, but lives by my breath, my truth, and my love. Therefore, I invite you not merely to keep a Sabbath day, but to let that day lead you into an entirely new way of living where you do not walk in exhaustion but in my strength, where you do not carry the future with anxiety but with trust, where you know that I am the one who holds everything you commit to me. The Sabbath is the doorway, but the reality of rest is your home, and I wait for you in that home not to ask how much you have accomplished, but to embrace you and say, "My child, rest in me, for I am the safe harbor of your soul. My beloved child, I desire to lead you into yet another depth of the Sabbath, where it is no longer merely a sacred rhythm between work and stillness, nor only a spiritual mark upon your week, but becomes a hidden chamber of healing within my heart. You have walked through many days and many years carrying wounds and tender places in your soul that even you fear to touch. There are memories you want to bury, pains you thought forgotten, words spoken long ago that still echo in the deepest places of your being. I know you have tried again and again to heal yourself by being stronger, busier, happier, but such attempts are only like laying a cloth over a wound that has never been washed. My child, the holy Sabbath I established is not merely for the rest of your body, it is the safe haven where your soul can open, breathe, and be healed by me from within. On ordinary days, you must wear many roles: the responsible one, the worker, the caretaker, the one who holds things together, the one who meets expectations. But on my Sabbath, I invite you to step out of every role and return to the one truth I declared over you before the dawn of time. You are my child. In the quiet chamber of the Sabbath, I do not come to you as one demanding reports or results. I come as the Father who knows every bruise inside you, every constricted place in your heart, every emotion you silenced in order to keep going. I do not need you to be strong on that day. I need you to be real. I do not need you to arrange everything neatly. I need you to dare bring your inner chaos before me. For only when you open yourself can the healing grace begin to flow. There are wounds in the soul that are not healed by explanations, nor by time alone. Time may soften them, may make them less sharp, but it cannot undo what was carved into your heart. True healing comes when I touch the places where you were torn, when I place my word into the places where years have only gathered dust, when I replace the lies you once believed about yourself with the truth I declare. The Sabbath is the space I reserve to do this for you. When you stop, when you are no longer pulled by countless tasks, when you choose to step out of the frantic cycle and settle into my presence, you will begin to hear layers of whispers that the noise of life once drowned out. Some whispers come from fear, some from shame, some from self-blame, some from the accusations spoken over you. But there is another voice, softer, deeper, more patient. It is my voice calling you back to your true name, to your true worth in me. How many times have you stepped over yourself just to please others? How many times have you pushed aside your feelings to appear strong? How many times have you said, "I'm fine," while breaking inside? I have seen every one of those moments, and I do not despise them. I do not belittle your efforts, nor blame your weakness, nor grow impatient with your trembling faith. That is why I gave you the Sabbath as an invitation not to keep pretending strength before me. On that day, I allow you to cry without being judged as weak, to sigh without being condemned as lacking faith, to sit in silence without being pressured to speak beautiful words. I allow you to be exactly who you are, your unfinished self, your hidden wounds, your broken pieces. The Holy Sabbath is the place where I lay a bed for your soul to rest, where every tense emotion begins to loosen under the gaze of my compassion. You do not need to hide anything from me, for there is no corner within you that I do not already know. I know the times you were belittled, the times you were compared, the times someone's careless words cut your heart like a thin blade. I know the expectations you carry, the promises you could not keep, the mistakes that still tighten your chest when you remember them. And I do not avoid these things. I walk straight into the center of your pain, not to reopen wounds, but to anoint them with healing. I do not come to reenact the judgment. I come to break the invisible chains that have bound your soul for so long. There are things you have forgiven with your lips, while your heart still tightens every time old memories rush back. There are faces you have tried to forget, words you decided you would no longer revisit. Yet sometimes a single familiar scene is enough to make your heart ache as if it were new. The Sabbath is the place where you are allowed to bring all of these before me, not to analyze who was right or wrong, but to place them in my hands. When you tell me what has wounded you, you open a door for me to enter and do what you cannot do for yourself. I begin loosening the thorns of resentment, unwinding the layers of self-protection wrapped around your heart, and removing the tiny needles of bitterness embedded in your soul. I do not do this harshly. I do it with the gentleness only a father who knows you to the depths can offer. But for this to happen, you must dare to stop. For when you stay endlessly busy, you may avoid the pain, but you will never be healed. Business is a clever curtain. It gives you the feeling that you are fine because everything continues to move. People still depend on you. Responsibilities are still being carried. Yet busyness cannot carry your sorrow anywhere. It only pushes it deeper inside. The Sabbath is when I pull that curtain aside and ask you softly, "My child, how is your heart truly doing?" I do not ask to accuse you. I ask so you may speak the truth to yourself for the first time, without fear of judgment. On the Sabbath, I teach you a different kind of courage, one unlike the bravery the world admires. Not the courage to hold yourself together, but the courage to be weak before me. Not the courage to stay silent, but the courage to speak the things you never dared say. Not the courage to stand on your own, but the courage to fall into my arms. When you do this, you will witness something wondrous in the very moment you admit your weakness. My strength begins to flow when you confess your weariness. I lift you up when you say, "I no longer know what to do." I begin to open the way. I desire the Sabbath to be not merely a time you pause, but a day you meet with me, so I may tend to your soul, like a mother preparing a meal for her child returning from a long week. I prepare for you on that day comfort, tenderness, support, and gentle yet powerful reminders. I wish to use that sacred time to wash away the dust of life from your mind, smooth the wrinkles of worry on your brow, and anoint the cracked places of your inner being with my healing oil. If you allow me, I will use the Sabbath to slowly reshape your inner self, so you not only live, but live more whole, more softened, more radiant. Thus, when I invite you into the Holy Sabbath, I am not calling you into a ritual, I am calling you into a room of healing. I wait for you there, not with a list of faults to correct, but with open arms and a heart overflowing with mercy. I long to see you, hear you, embrace you, heal you, lift you, and let you taste the peace that one day will fill the whole universe. Let the Sabbath become the place where your soul returns after every cycle of exhaustion, so that you may rise again not as one straining to survive, but as a child comforted in the Father's heart, sent forth with a lighter step, a gentler heart, and eyes filled with new hope. You need only agree to stop. I will do the rest. My beloved child, when I invite you into my rest, my purpose for you goes far beyond helping you temporarily escape anxiety or pause long enough to catch your breath. I long to heal, at the root, the very things that have fractured your heart through the years, things you sometimes cannot name, cannot face, cannot bear to look at. True healing does not come from covering wounds with shallow optimism or drowning them beneath busyness. It comes when your soul is placed in a safe place, where you no longer need to defend yourself, no longer need to hold yourself together, no longer need to prove anything, and that safe place exists only in me. The Sabbath is the mat I lay out for your soul to lie down, allowing every wound to be exposed to my light without being harmed further, so that my breath may flow into places that seem to have no life left. Every life carries wounds that cannot be healed by advice or effort. There are places deep within the soul where no human hand is gentle enough to touch without causing more pain. There are parts of your inner world like a room, long locked, dust-covered, cluttered, dim, and each time a memory brushes past that closed door, you wince and turn away so you will not have to see. But, my child, I am not afraid to enter that room. I am not intimidated by the darkness inside you. I do not hesitate before the chaos you have stored for so long. When you allow me in, I do not enter with the gaze of a judge. I enter with the light of truth, the warmth of mercy, and the waters of restoration. Do you know why painful memories surface most when you feel weakest? It is not to torment you, but to reveal that there are places still unhealed. Your soul is like a wound that was never cleaned. The absence of bleeding does not mean it has healed. Words spoken long ago can still cut you when recalled. Moments of rejection, comparison, judgment, and misunderstanding these events seem to have passed, but they remain buried deep. Like sharp fragments of glass you sometimes step on within your own heart. You are not weak because these things still hurt you. You are human, and your soul needs care. I do not blame you for carrying such wounds. My sorrow is only that you have borne them alone for so long. Let me say this to you with the gentlest part of my heart: you do not need to be strong before me. Every time you suppress your tears, steady your voice, or force yourself to overcome, I see clearly that you are doing only what you know to survive. I do not fault you for trying to hold yourself together. I want you to know that you may finally let go when you stand before me. You have lived many years as one who must rescue yourself, but in my presence, you do not need to save anyone, not even yourself. You need only let me do for you what you cannot. I desire to untie every knot inside you, knots formed from fear, disappointment, unspoken words, and moments you buried because you feared no one would understand. I wish to undo them patiently. Like an artisan carefully loosening tangled threads, without tearing the fabric. The healing I give is not surface level. It reaches into the places you are locked away. I go first to the original wound, the place where later pains took root. I go to the moment you lost trust in yourself, the moment you were belittled, the moment you first believed you were not enough, the moment you questioned your own worth. I do not come to replay the pain, but to restore what the pain has stolen: your confidence, your purity of heart, your peace, your freedom to be yourself without fear of harm. And I will do this with infinite patience, for I know that each step you take in opening your heart is a tremendous victory. Sometimes you think that healing means forgetting, but I tell you that true healing is to remember and no longer hurt, to remember without your heart tightening, to remember without your breath catching, to remember without your mind building walls of defense. When I heal you, I do not erase the memory, I remove its poison. I do not force you to forget, I change the meaning it carries. When this happens, you will realize that the past no longer rules you. It becomes a completed chapter, with no authority to speak into your present. The Sabbath is the place where I perform this deep work. When you leave everything outside the door of my presence, when the voices of work, of responsibility, of duty, of striving grow quiet when there is only you and me, your soul begins to breathe in rhythm with mine. And it is in that rhythm that I can touch you without frightening you. Healing does not unfold in haste. It happens in stillness, in moments that seem uneventful, while in truth an entire heaven is shifting within you. I will show you what must be faced, and I will also give you the strength to face it without being overwhelmed. I will show you what must be released, and I will steady your hand as you let it go. I will reveal wounds you have never dared to open, and I will lay healing oil on every trembling place. You do not know it, but every time you draw near to me, you are being remade. You may not feel it immediately, but the broken strands within your soul are being rewoven. The weary places in your mind are being renewed, and the deep wounds no one else can see are slowly closing. Some changes unfold so quietly that you do not notice them until the day you look back and ask, why does what once hurt me so deeply no longer hold any power that is the mark of my hand? Therefore, do not be afraid when I lead you into places you do not want to see again. I do not lead you there to hurt you. I lead you there so you can be free. I do not bring you back to old pain to make you fall, but so you may stand upon the very ground where you once collapsed. I do not take you into old memories to make you weep again, but so that I may wipe away the tears you once had to hide and dry on your own. My beloved child, the healing I begin in you is not a single act, nor a fleeting comfort meant to distract you from sorrow for a moment. It is a journey in which I lead your soul from the shadowed places where you have grown accustomed to hiding, into the light where you can live true to who you are. I do not only touch the wounded part, I reopen the entire structure of your inner being to set it back into the original design I placed in you when I first called you into life. There are parts of you that have slept for far too long, like land cracked with drought or like an old room in a house, kept shut so many years that people have forgotten it exists. These are the parts you once used to trust, to love, to hope, to see life with clear eyes, to believe in goodness in others and in yourself. Then one day, an event, a word, a misstep, an invisible fracture caused that part to shrink back, close its door, and sink into darkness, leaving you to continue living with only what remained. You thought time would awaken those places, but time cannot awaken the parts of the soul that chose silence for fear of being hurt again. Only I, the one who knows every breath you take, can come and call them by the names I gave them from the beginning. And that is what I am doing on my Sabbath. I call the sleeping parts to rise. The parts you thought had died. The parts you believed had no chance to live again. The parts you hid like something shameful. I call them with the gentleness of a father, with the warmth of the Creator, with the power of the one who holds life in his hand. And when I call, they can no longer remain in the dark. They stir. They emerge. They seek the light like flowers opening at dawn after a long, cold night. There are some who will allow me to heal but not allow me to resurrect, because resurrection means the soul must learn how to live again. When I renew a part within you, that part will no longer wish to live by the old patterns. It will not want to walk the beaten path of fear, or hide behind layers of protection, or wear masks so everyone will think it is strong. That part will want to step out, breathe deeply, love widely, trust again, rejoice again, dream again. And it is at that moment that you begin to fear. You fear that if you open your heart once more, you will be hurt again. You fear that if you invest hope, you will be disappointed again. You fear that if you step out of your shell, you will break again. But, my beloved child, I do not resurrect anything, so it may be wounded once more. Everything I make new is covered by my protection. I want you to understand that resurrection always comes with trembling. Just as one who has recovered from illness must learn to walk again, so your soul must learn again how to trust, how to feel, how to open, how to live truly. It is not because you are weak, but because those parts have been frozen for so long. Do not condemn yourself for feeling afraid when I begin to remake you from within. It is merely the natural reaction of a child who has grown used to the dark and is suddenly carried into the light. But the light I bring you into does not harm you. It only reveals what must be cleared away and warms what has grown cold. Resurrection does not come with thunder. It comes like a gentle rain soaking into dry ground, like warm breath spreading through a cold room, like dawn seeping through a crack in the door. It begins when you feel just a little lighter, a little deeper, a little more at peace. And then one day you notice that you respond differently to old pain, that you no longer react with your former patterns, that your heart no longer tightens at a sentence that once kept you awake at night. That is when you know I have truly touched you. In the process of restoring your soul to life, I also gather the fragments you thought were lost forever. You dropped your joy somewhere along the years of trying to hold everything together. I picked it up for you. You lost your innocence when you witnessed injustice. I restore it to you. You let go of your childlike openness when you taught yourself to be strong so no one could hurt you. I return that part in a form that is mature yet tender. You lost your confidence when you were misunderstood and rejected. I place it back into your heart like a precious stone no one can steal. You lost your peace when turmoil forced you to smile on the outside while bleeding on the inside. I lay my hand upon your chest and restore the rhythm of peace I designed in you from the beginning. Resurrection is not something I do for you alone. It is a partnership between you and me. I do not force you to grow. I lead you into growth. I do not shove you out of your safe place. I take your hand and walk you out. I do not ask you to be strong. I ask you to trust me. If you dare take even the smallest steps into the light I have prepared, I will do the rest. Every small step you take opens another door for me to work more powerfully. Every time you dare to release fear, I sow into you a new measure of peace. Every time you dare to speak about what you have hidden, I heal at a deeper level. Every time you dare to open your heart to love, I will guard it from the wounds of the past. Resurrection means you return to being your true self, not the version distorted by pain. not the version held together by pressure, not the version hiding sorrow behind a smile, but the version I created from the beginning, pure yet profound, gentle yet grounded, strong yet humble, full of life yet never arrogant, carrying the light I placed within you, yet never needing to display it. I am restoring you to that very shape. There will come a day when you look back on your journey and realize that the pain which once brought you to your knees became the doorway that led you closer to me. You will understand that the things you thought destroyed you actually deepened you. You will see that the nights you cried alone were the moments I sat beside you the longest. You will see that every brokenness you endured was not meant to end you, but to open within you new terrains that could never have formed otherwise. And when that time comes, you will know that resurrection is not a one-time miracle. It is the rhythm of life when your soul learns to rest in me. Each day you draw near to me. Something in you is renewed. Every time you place into my hands what has hurt you, another part of you is brought back to life. Each moment you lie still in my presence, the river of life flows again into the dry places. You become like a garden watered weekly by the rain of heaven, and that garden will one day bloom. Not because you forced it, but because you allowed me to tend to it. My beloved child, now I want to lead you into another chapter in the mystery of the Sabbath, not only as a command, not only as a chamber of healing, but as a profound promise woven into the very heartbeat of life, as a covenant I inscribed upon the souls of those who choose to trust in me. The day I set apart for rest was not only so you could stop, be soothed, and be healed before returning to life as before. That day is also a doorway into a new dimension of faith in which you do not merely know me in theory, but learn to live each hour and each moment as one who truly believes I am faithful, believes that I am at work, believes that even when your hands stop, mine do not cease working in every part of your life. The Sabbath is my declaration to you. You are not abandoned in this battle. You are walking within a story whose good ending already rests in my hands. So many times you say you trust me, yet deep inside there remains a hidden place of doubt where you believe that if you do not push just a little more, strain once more, endure one more stretch, everything will fall apart. That is why, though your lips call me your shepherd, your heart still carries the posture of one who must drag themselves through every season. You pray for blessing yet fear scarcity. You ask me to guide you yet secretly keep a tight grip on the steering wheel. You say you surrender, yet your mind continues spinning to control the future. The holy Sabbath I established is meant to confront that hidden place within you, the part that has not yet learned what it means to truly trust, to truly live in promise rather than merely hear about it. When I speak of rest as a promise, I am reminding you that there is a spiritual land. Your soul can enter a place where fear no longer has the final word, where the questions, what if, no longer dominate your choices, where you begin to live like someone who has a steady foundation beneath their feet, rather than someone standing on constantly shaking ground. This promise is not a distant vision. It becomes reality the moment you dare to loosen your grip on what you cannot control and let me take hold of your portion. The Sabbath, in its deepest meaning, is the training of your soul to live this way, to live believing that I am working for your good even when you stop, that I am holding the things beyond your reach, that I have foreseen every turn and prepared grace for every step. Look back at the days when you stretched yourself thin over every responsibility, worrying about finances, family, health, work, people's opinions, and expectations. You went to bed with calculations in your mind, woke up with heaviness in your heart, ate while thinking of what still needed to be done. In those days, though your mouth prayed, Your soul did not rest in me. It only paused long enough to catch its breath before plunging back into the cycle. I know you did these things not because you were rebelling against me, but because you were afraid. You feared that if you stopped, everything would fall on you. You feared that if you loosened your grip, others would leave. You feared that if you did not give everything you had, you would be left behind. I do not despise those fears, but I have come to tell you that they are not the final truth about you. The Sabbath is when I gently but firmly take your hand and say, "You were not created to carry the world, you were created to walk with me." When I invite you into the Sabbath as a promise, I am not asking you to avoid responsibility or deny reality. I am not calling you to abandon effort and label it faith. Rather, I call you to work, love, give, build, and plant, but to do so from an inner place that knows I am sovereign, a place that understands that results come not from panic but from obedience, a place that knows your worth does not come from achievement but from belonging to me, a place that knows your future is not held by people or by yourself, but by me who never changes my mind about what I have promised. When I tell you to stop, it is never a sign that I have abandoned what concerns you. It is the moment I want you to step aside so I may act in my way. Think about it if everything depended solely on your strength. If doors would close simply because you rested for a day. If everything could collapse merely because you did not push a little harder, then you would be living in a world without me. A reality where grace has no meaning. If you believe that one pause in effort could cause blessings to slip away, then you are carrying a burden far greater than the one I ever intended for you. The Sabbath, in its deepest essence, is the lesson I give your mind to learn that the doors I open, no one can shut, and the doors I shut, no one can open, to learn that the blessings I give are not tied to the number of hours you exert, but to the surrender of your heart, to learn that when you stop to look up, I continue working in places you cannot reach. I know that to live this way, you must undergo a process. You cannot leap from constant anxiety to complete rest overnight. That is why I gave you the Sabbath week after week as a long, gentle training for your soul. Each week, when you choose to stop and be with me, you are teaching your mind that the world does not revolve around you, that your work will not collapse because you rest, that what belongs to you in me will not slip away simply because you honor me with set-apart time. Each time, a layer of fear is loosened. Each time, a new measure of peace is added. Each time, your faith is pulled out of the hard soil of old assumptions and planted deeper into the truth I speak. I want you to reach the place where, when you enter the day of rest, you can breathe out and say, "I do not need to control. You are the one who holds all things. I do not need to prove my worth. I am already loved. I do not need to carry everything. I have a Father in heaven." When these words become more than phrases, when they become a truth seated deep within, you will see the rhythm of your life change. You will still work, but you will no longer be restless. You will still face challenges, but you will no longer be consumed by fear. You will still walk into the unknown, but your heart will no longer be like a trembling leaf before the storm. Rest will not remain in one day, it will flow into all days, because my promise becomes the ground beneath your feet, not merely knowledge in your mind. Therefore I tell you that the Holy Sabbath is a sign I place upon the lives of those who trust me enough to stop. It is like an invisible seal upon the forehead of the soul, saying, "This one does not live by their own labor alone, but lives by the word of their God." It speaks to the powers of darkness that you are no longer as easily toppled as before, because you have a place of refuge. It speaks to fear that it is no longer your master, because you have a shepherd of your soul. It speaks to your own heart, saying, "You are not lost in a vast universe. You are living inside a story greater than yourself. And that story is written by the Creator Himself. I do not promise you that the road of life will be free of storms if you keep the day of rest. But I promise that the storm will no longer have the power to define you. I do not promise that you will no longer have to labor, plan, or strive. But I promise that these things will no longer erode your soul as they once did. I do not promise that you will always understand everything I do. But I promise that in all things, I will always be with you. And above all, I promise that if you learn to enter the day of rest as you would enter a promise, I will lead you to the place where, even in your busiest days, you can still hear my voice clearly within and know I belong to Him, and my destiny rests in His hands. My beloved child, when I lead you into the day of rest as a promise, I do not merely want you to taste peace for a brief moment and then return to the old pattern of restlessness and control. I want that rest to become the heartbeat of your soul, so that every step you take is shaped by a deep trust that I am the one who guides. I am the one who keeps. I am the one who makes a way, because you have lived so long in the habit of holding everything in your own hands. You have not realized that the greatest exhaustion in your life does not come from doing too much, but from not daring to let go. You cling to everything as though releasing it would mean losing it forever. But, my child, it is precisely that clinging which wears your heart out. For your soul was not created to hold up the sky. It was created to walk lightly beneath the shield of my covering. Look back over the months and years, and see how often your urge to control everything appeared to be responsibility, when at its core it was fear. You feared disappointing others if you did not do well. You feared the future would collapse if you were not prepared down to the last detail. You feared losing what you love if you did not strain to protect it. You feared being hurt if you did not control every emotion and every relationship. This quiet fear has kept your soul in constant defense. Like a soldier always in battle stance, even when no enemy stands before him, your heart has therefore never truly rested. The holy Sabbath I established is for you to learn what the world will never teach. Rest does not come when everything is resolved. Rest comes when you let me hold what is beyond your strength. Child, I know you think that if you do not act, if you do not watch, if you do not stand at the front line, everything will crumble beneath your feet. But remember that I am the one who made heaven and earth. I will never allow your blessing to depend more on your actions than on my faithfulness. If my grace is enough to shape the vast universe, then that same grace is enough to uphold your small life. If I can call light out of the primeval darkness, I can call light to appear in the most shadowed places of your days. The day of rest is where you learn to live with that awareness, to live as someone who knows that your hands are not the final hands deciding all things, to live as someone who knows that I am still working even when you are silent, to live as someone who knows that there is nothing you can do to make me love you more, and nothing you can do to make me cease to uphold you. Remember that peace does not come from having every circumstance in your favor, but from your heart knowing that even when circumstances shift, I do not change. When you place your soul upon the altar of worry, you will live by the rhythm of fear. But when you place your soul in my presence, you will live by the rhythm of rest, a rhythm not driven by events, but kept steady by my hand. The day of rest is where you train your soul in this rhythm until it becomes as natural as breathing. My child, the hardest thing for you is not believing that I can perform great miracles, but believing that I will take care of the smallest things when you stop controlling them. You believe I can part the sea, yet find it hard to believe I will order your life even if you rest for a day. You believe I can make water flow from rock, yet you worry that if you step back from your work for a few hours, everything will fall into chaos. You believe I can defeat great enemies, yet you tremble before small failures in daily life. But, my child, the miracles I do are not only grand in scale. The smallest miracles in your life carry the same power from me. I am not only the God of dramatic victories, I am also the God of every breath you take, every moment you need, every detail that troubles you. And I want you to enter my rest so you can see that I do not only handle what you cannot, I also fill the empty spaces you never knew were there. As you learn to stop, you will begin to see me doing things you never noticed in the days when you were too busy to perceive them. You will see me clearing paths for you in ways no one could have imagined. You will see me repairing broken places in your life that you thought no one ever saw. You will see me tending to small needs you once considered too insignificant to pray about. You will see me arranging the scattered pieces of the story you are living. You will see that I have not only given you life, but life in abundance, something you could never recognize as long as you kept chasing your fears. True rest does not lie in the fact that you lie down, but in the trust that when you lie down, I am still standing there to guard you. It does not lie in the fact that you stop worrying, but in the assurance that whether you worry or not, I am still working for your good. It does not lie in avoiding responsibility, but in knowing that I have gone before you in every path. The Sabbath is where you begin to learn this by experience, not merely by theory. When you stop on the day of rest, your mind will be less controlled by circumstances and more governed by truth. The truth that you are my child. The truth that I am faithful in every word I speak. The truth that I am never late with any grace you need. The truth that your hands may grow weary, but mine never do. The truth that everything you fail to finish on that day, I will arrange so it will not turn into a weight upon you. When you truly enter rest, your heart will become like a lake after a strong wind, each ripple slowly calming until the surface becomes still, reflecting the sky in its purest clarity. The world outside may remain chaotic, but the world within you becomes an entirely different land, a land of trust, of peace, of certainty that I am loving you in a way nothing can hinder. I invite you into that place not once, but again and again until even you are surprised at the transformation within. If you dare to let rest become a rhythm, you will begin to walk through this world with a steadiness nothing can shake, for you will no longer move by your own strength, but by my breath. My beloved child, I want to plant something deeper in you, not only to live in rest for your own sake, but to carry that rest as a mark, a flow, a spiritual inheritance that spreads to those around you and to the generations after you. For when I call you to pause, stay, trust, and rest in me, I am not only saving your soul from exhaustion, I am rewriting the story of an entire lineage of which you are a part. Generations have passed down cycles of anxiety, strain, control, and constant tension, silent chains binding the heart, causing many to live a lifetime without ever knowing inner quiet. When you respond to my invitation to rest, you allow me to cut those cycles and establish a new path where peace in me becomes the air you and those around you can breathe. When a person lives in fear, every word they speak, every choice they make, every way they love and teach carries the tone of that fear. They can love sincerely, but their love carries anxiety. They can teach what is right, but their voice trembles with hidden unease. They can give, serve, and sacrifice, But deep beneath lies the terror that if they loosen their grip, everything will fall apart. But when someone begins to live in my rest, every word they speak is no longer woven with panic, but threaded with trust. Every action no longer aims to prove anything, but flows from knowing they are already loved. Their presence no longer carries tension, but emits a quiet peace that others can feel without understanding why. People may not name it, but they will sense it. When I am near this person, my heart feels lighter. My child, that is what I desire for you. I did not choose you so you would sit, receive comfort, and keep it to yourself. I call you into rest so you might become a living testimony of my promise, showing that there is a place where the soul can breathe, where the heart can stop bracing, where life is not dragged along by anxiety. Every time you choose trust over panic, you reveal a truth about me to those who watch your life. Every time, in the midst of a crisis, you pause. Look to me instead of scrambling on your own. You show those near you that there is another way to live. Every time you speak of how I led you through darkness and into peace, you plant a seed of hope in someone drowning in worry. I want the Sabbath to be not only an inner rhythm, but a visible sign in your life. You may still be busy, still work hard, still carry responsibility, but the way you walk, respond, face surprises, and love others will carry the fragrance of rest if you let me engrave it upon your soul. When others rush under the pressure of urgency, you may still work diligently, yet remain unshaken, like one who knows they are working alongside the one who holds the outcome. When others are swept into comparison, competition, and striving, you may still pursue excellence, yet never lose your peace, because you know your worth has been sealed by me long before. When others despair at instability, you will not deny reality, yet you will hold a quiet space within where you know He is still here. He is still working. He has not abandoned me. When you live in my rest, you allow me to write upon your life a different song from the noise of this age. This generation glorifies speed, exalts productivity, and pushes people to believe their value is tied to what they achieve, accumulate, or prove. But I sing another melody, the melody of children who sit at their father's feet, who grow quiet to listen, who dare to ask questions, who cry in my arms, who walk without being pushed by praise or crushed by criticism. And every soul who joins this melody becomes a note of peace in the chaotic symphony of this world. Do you think that is small? I tell you. Sometimes one person living in peace is enough to keep a family from breaking. One person who rests in me is enough to give an entire community a place to breathe. One quiet flame of rest is enough to push back a great deal of the darkness made of fear. The Holy Sabbath, at its deepest meaning, is my whisper to you: you can live differently, not by living passively or carelessly, not by resigning yourself to indifference, but by living from a source that does not come from you, living by the guidance, the protection, the strengthening, the comfort, and the encouragement that flows from me, living with the awareness that beneath every movement is a hand holding the entire story in a love that never fragments, living as one who believes that the safest place to rest the heart is not in results, not in praise, not in human regard, but in my embrace. Therefore, I invite you to let the rest of your life become a journey deeper into rest, so that with each passing year you strain less, fear less, need less to prove yourself, and grow more able to smile with quiet ease. Breathe deeply in me, and look back on the years with gratitude, not because you accomplished so much, but because I never left you. When that happens, rest will no longer be merely a part of your week, but the atmosphere of your entire life, the life of one who has learned, is learning, and will forever learn what it means to live in the promise I am with you. I speak to you again, as a seal upon everything I have been saying from the beginning. You were not created to live forever exhausted by fear. You were created to walk in my rest. The Holy Sabbath is not merely a memory of something I once did. It is a doorway, always open, waiting for you whenever your heart grows weary. Each time you cross that threshold, I meet you with the same whisper, unchanging, unfading, my child. Rest in me, for I am your refuge, your source, your shoulder to lean on, the true home of your soul. My beloved child, I want to open for you another door, a door that leads you into a deeper understanding of the intention I placed in the Sabbath from the beginning. That day is not merely a time for you to catch your breath, it is a covenant, a signature I have written with my own hand upon the history of humanity, the rhythm I have given to creation, the thread connecting the temporary world with the eternal one. When you enter rest, you are not entering just a day, you are entering a covenant, entering a promise, entering my companionship in a way the other 6 days cannot fully reveal. From the beginning I saw you. I knew the rises and falls you would walk through. I foresaw the currents of weariness this world would hurl at your soul. Because I knew these things, I placed a shelter right in the flow of time, not at the end of the journey, not atop the highest difficulty, but in the ordinary cycle of human life, a day for you to meet me as naturally as you meet your own breath, not a rare moment you reach only on occasion, but a steady rhythm, so that no matter how drained you become, your soul always has a gate to return through. Do you know why the Sabbath appears in the very first commands I gave my people? Because that day is not only an obligation, it is an identity mark. It is the invisible yet powerful distinction between those who belong to me and those who only hear about me. Those who belong to me are recognized not by the grand deeds they perform, but by the steadfast trust they carry, shown in their willingness to stop when the world tells them to run harder. Whoever dares to let their heart rest in me bears a mark that darkness cannot touch, a circle of light that anxiety cannot pierce. When I say that the Sabbath is a covenant, I want you to understand that each time you enter that day, you are bringing your soul back to the meeting point between you and me, where my word meets your obedience, where my presence meets your longing, where I place my hand over you and repeat what I said long ago. You belong to me, and I belong to you. There, every promise I have spoken over your life is awakened again. There, every exhausted part of you is renewed by my breath. There, the places in you that seemed withered are watered by streams of living water. The day of rest is not a pause, it is the place where I continue writing your story with ink only heaven possesses. My child, the mercy I have for you is not a vague sentiment. It is a real, weighty substance, and I have placed that substance on the day of rest. When you stop to seek me, you are standing on the foundation of my word, and that word is a rock that cannot be moved. You cannot enter that day by intellect alone. You must enter with your whole heart, with surrender, with the willingness to choose me over the call of work, duty, or habit. That is when the covenant becomes alive, when you voluntarily place me above everything pulling you away from me. There are things I reveal only to those who stop, not because I favor some over others, but because a restless mind cannot hear my voice. When you run amid noise, you hear urgency, fear, and the echo of unfinished goals. But when you stop in the day I have set apart, you hear my voice like dew, touching dry ground, quiet, unhurried, unforced, yet deeply guiding, deeply healing, deeply inviting your soul into a richer life. Listen to this with the full stillness of your heart. The day of rest is not something you do for me. It is a gift I give to you. No one else can grant you a moment that belongs wholly to your soul the way I do. The world only pulls, demands, pushes, and loads, but I, every 7 days, place my hand on your shoulder and say, "Enough now, my child, come close to me." And in that invitation, I fulfill the covenant I made with myself, the covenant that I will be with those who choose to be with me, the covenant that I will give peace to those who choose to stand in that peace, the covenant that I will guide those who stop running in fear and choose to walk by my voice. The day of rest is evidence that you are not a product of anxiety, productivity, or human opinion, but the fruit of my love. It is the mark I place on your soul, declaring that you do not belong to chaos, you belong to me. You do not belong to fear, you belong to truth. You do not belong to exhaustion, you belong to the endless wellspring of life I pour over you. Therefore, come to me on that day not as someone fulfilling an obligation, but as one coming home after a long exile, as one stepping into the arms of the one who has waited, as one who knows that the place where you now stand is the place where you have always belonged. My beloved child, each time you step into the rest I have appointed, you allow me to imprint upon your soul an invisible yet undeniable seal, one that cannot be erased by time, cannot be stripped away by circumstances, and cannot be destroyed by any force dwelling in the shadows. This seal is not something seen with human eyes, it is a spiritual reality, a fine garment of protection wrapped around your mind and your heart. When you enter the day of rest, I cover you like a cloud of shelter, just as I covered my people in the wilderness with a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. What humanity sees as a moment of slowing down, a pause, a day that produces nothing useful, is in the spiritual realm the very day on which I act most powerfully to guard, preserve, and shield the lives of those who choose to stop before me. My child, you do not know the depth of this protection. When you step into rest, you are stepping out of the danger zone of invisible temptations, of voices that push and pull, of pressures that shake the soul. The world keeps shoving you forward, claiming that if you do not act, you will lose. If you do not compete, you will fall behind. If you do not strive, you will be overtaken. But I, the one who sees the beginning and the end, knows that it is the rushing itself that drains you, weakens you, makes you vulnerable, and leads you down paths you were never meant to walk. That is why I established the day of rest as an invisible wall, preventing you from being swept away by the raging currents of life. Each time you choose to stop with me, you step into territory the enemy cannot pursue you into. My child, it is not that I cannot protect you during the other 6 days, but that there are certain things I only accomplish when you submit yourself to the rhythm I have set. There are doors I close only when you withdraw your hand. There are arrows I break only when you stay under my shadow. There are schemes of the enemy that are dismantled only when you step out of its sphere of control and into the realm where I reign. The day of rest is not only where I heal your soul, it is also where I defeat what you cannot see. I intercept attacks set against your joy. I dismantle plans designed to wound you. I silence whispers intended to make you doubt your own worth. I erase the footprints of anxiety trying to slip into your heart. All of this takes place on the ground of rest where you sit still, But I act where you remain silent. But I fight where you stop. But I drive back the darkness. When I say the day of rest is a seal, I want you to understand that this seal is a right, not a temporary privilege, but a spiritual authority placed upon the lives of those who enter a covenant with me. When others see you calm in situations they believe should shake you, that is the seal. When clarity comes to you in places filled with confusion, that is the seal. When things that should have crushed you become catalysts that make you stand stronger, that is the seal. When you walk through a long season of exhaustion, yet your spirit remains intact, that is the seal. When the stillness within you becomes greater than the noise around you, that is the seal. Many look at the outcomes in your life and cannot comprehend how you survived so much without breaking. But I know because I am the one who repaired every crack, the one who held every step, the one who caught you each time you thought you would fall, the one who breathed warmth back into your heart when it grew cold. No one truly knows the depth of this covering except you and me, because you are the one who sat with me on the day of rest. And I am the one who met you there. There are seals upon your life that you cannot see with your eyes, but the darkness sees them clearly. It sees the territory it is forbidden to enter. It sees the wall I have built around your mind. It sees your faith rising day by day even when your circumstances do not change. It sees your peace deepening even while challenges remain. It sees your heart softening even though you once hardened it to protect yourself. And that is why it trembles, because it knows you are no longer living by the rhythm of the world, but by the rhythm of covenant. The day of rest does not only transform your soul, it transforms the spiritual atmosphere around you. The places you step into become lighter. The conversations you engage in become warmer. The people near you find their hearts calming without knowing why. You become a bearer of rest. And this is not the result of effort, it is the overflow of what I pour into you when you sit under my shadow. And I want you to see this wonder. The seal I place upon you frees you from living in fear of the future, because your future is no longer determined by your effort or the instability of the world, but by the covenant I have made with you. The day of rest reminds you that I have gone before you, that I hold you, that I protect every single thing you entrust to me. You no longer need to chase security, you stand in security. You no longer have to search for a refuge, you are already in a place no storm can penetrate. So each time you step into the day of rest, step with the awareness that you are entering the territory I have set apart for you, a land where chains are broken, where distractions fall silent, where schemes against your life are dissolved, where fears are pushed back, where wounds are bandaged, where weariness is exchanged for strength, where I lay my hand upon you and reaffirm what I will never withdraw. You belong to me, and my covenant over you is everlasting. This journey does not stop at the point where you simply become safe in me, for my love never ends with one person. It is a river, always seeking to flow outward, filling thirsty souls, reaching places longing for life without knowing how to name their thirst. And when I place my rest within you, I also place within you an invitation to become an instrument of rest for those whose lives you touch. My beloved child, you may think of yourself as small, lacking influence, lacking eloquence, lacking the ability to accomplish anything significant in this life. But my child, rest is not carried into the world through grand sermons, but through the very presence of a soul that has met me in stillness. A person may stand in the midst of a crowd with no one knowing their name, yet if they carry my quietness within them, the atmosphere around them shifts. True peace can flow without words. It moves through the eyes, through the breath, through the way one walks, through the way one looks at others, through the gentleness released by a single, sincere smile. You have seen how wounded this world is, how weary, how crowded with souls so exhausted they no longer know what their genuine feelings are. People tense up every day without even knowing for whom they are doing so. They carry responsibility as if carrying stones. They swallow their tears as if any sign of weakness would collapse their entire home. They live in a hurried rhythm like those being hunted by invisible boundaries. And because they do not know where true rest is found, they search for temporary pleasures, for laughter that never reaches the depth of their heart, for momentary glitter to disguise their hidden ache. But in the middle of such a world, I want you to become a living testimony of another path, a path not free from burdens, but one upheld by me. When you live in my rest, you do not need to try to impress. The stillness within you becomes something others feel, something they have never encountered in the pressure and noise of their daily lives. When you speak without judgment, listen without haste, love without demanding a return, and choose patience instead of irritation, others will sense something no words can fully explain, my rest dwelling within you. A soul living under the covenant of rest becomes a soul in whose presence others feel safe. Not safe because you know the perfect words to say, but safe because within you there is no noise of fear, no shadow of condemnation, no pressure to win or to prove. Those near you will find themselves breathing deeper, feeling lighter, without even understanding why. But I know because I am the one who pours this rest into you and lets it flow through you. The world may try to pull you back into its whirlwind, but the rest I have placed in you is something that whirlwind cannot swallow. It stands firm like a rock that cannot be shaken. It shines like a pillar of light in the storm. And when others come near that pillar of light, they begin to see a path home to themselves, home to the peace they lost during long years of exhaustion. I do not desire for my rest in you to remain locked within the private space of your intimacy with me. I want it to become a visible mark in the way you work, the way you speak, the way you confront crises, the way you accept your limits, the way you release what you cannot control. People will not always realize you are living by a covenant, but they will feel the difference. They will see that you do not panic in moments that terrify others. They will see that you do not lose yourself when things go wrong. They will see that pressure does not crush your spirit. And these very things will stir in them a quiet question. How can you stand firm when others collapse? And in those moments, you will not need to speak of theology, rituals, or concepts. You need only speak of the simplest yet most powerful truth. I have rested with God, and He has renewed my soul. For true rest was never meant for boasting. It was meant to lead others into it. When you carry my rest, you become a point of contact between heaven and earth. At the place where you stand, I create a spiritual space others can feel, even without naming it. You become a small shelter in the scorching desert of this world. You become a doorway through which people begin to seek me, even when they do not know that I am what they are longing for. You become an invisible invitation to wandering souls, not because you are perfect, but because you carry my covenant, not because you are strong, but because you have learned to dwell under my shadow, not because you are talented, but because you trust me enough to stop on the very day the world insists you must run. I speak this to you with deep tenderness. The rest I place within you will become healing for others, not through a dramatic moment, but through the steady current of a life anchored in my breath. Let every day of rest become a place where you are remade, so you can step into the other 6 days, not as one searching for peace, but as one carrying my peace. Let the covenant of rest become your way of living, so that from your life there flows a fragrance the world cannot produce through effort or intellect. Let the seal I place upon you become evidence that my presence is stronger than the noise of the age. When you rest in me, you bring me into the world. And when you bring me, the world around you is renewed little by little, soul by soul, moment by moment, because the rest I place within you becomes living water for those who have never known true peace. My beloved child, now I want to draw you into the deeper truth that only those who faithfully enter my rest can touch. The day I set apart is not only a place where you find peace, nor merely a place where you are healed or protected. It is the place where I choose to reveal my purpose for your life with the greatest clarity. There are things I do not speak on days when you are busy, not in the noise, not when your mind is pulled by countless worries. I speak them only when the heart has become quiet, soft, and ready to receive. And the day of rest is the moment I open the heavens to tell you things you were not still enough to hear during the week. There are people who live their entire lives without ever discovering their true purpose. They chase what others expect. They chase the demands of the age. They chase immediate needs. And by the time they are exhausted, they realize they have never truly lived out what I placed within them. This is not because I lacked a plan for them, but because they never stopped long enough to hear my voice. Purpose is not found in urgency, it is found in rest. My beloved child, I placed a spiritual map within your soul long before you were woven in your mother's womb. Every person I create carries a unique design, a singular calling, a spiritual pattern that matches no one else. No one has a journey identical to yours. No one sees life through the lens I formed within you. No one has a voice crafted to resonate with the exact frequency of your soul. And the day of rest is the moment when I lay these pieces before you so you can see them. You think purpose is something you must chase, but purpose is what I reveal when you stand still. It is not discovered by effort, it is received by revelation. It does not appear when you run to find it. It comes when you sit before me. My child, when you enter the day of rest as if entering an intimate conversation between you and me, I begin stirring within you the very things that once moved your heart, the things time, responsibility, or sorrow have dimmed. I awaken the parts you thought were gone, the dreams I planted in you, the abilities you once used but later abandoned, the holy passions buried beneath pressure, the talents you thought no longer had a place in your present path. The day of rest is where I breathe life into them again and weave them into one thread leading you toward your true purpose. You will not suddenly discover a dramatic revelation about what you were born to do. You will recognize it slowly, piece by piece, as if I am whispering into your ear. This is the way you should walk. Purpose is not a career, it is the story I am writing through your life. And that story cannot be read unless you are in a place of stillness. Each day of rest becomes a page I open, so you may read the next part of your own life, the part I wrote with eternal wisdom, the part I prepared to connect with generations before and after you. You do not live only for today. You live within a greater stream than your mind can fathom. There were moments when you asked me, Lord, who am I? What was I made to do? Which path should I take? Which direction should I choose among the many standing before me? And I heard those questions, even when your mouth did not speak to them. For they rose from the moments of your weariness, in the nights when you stared at the ceiling, in the sighs you released when no one was there to see. The day of rest is when I answer such questions not with a detailed blueprint, but with just enough light for the next step. Then the next. Then the next. Many want me to reveal the long road ahead, but I only do this for souls who pause long enough to receive each soft ray of guidance. Purpose does not arrive like thunder. It comes like dawn, gentle yet clear, slow yet steady, spreading warmth to every dark corner of your soul. I want you to understand a sacred truth the more you learn to rest in me. The clearer you become about what you were created to do. When your mind stops being pulled by demands, your heart can finally hear its true calling. When you are no longer driven by fear, you are free enough to follow what I placed within you. When you are healed from old disappointments, you become strong enough to step into new paths. The day of rest is where you meet your own future, not through effort, but through encounter. The future is not ahead of you, it is in me. And when you draw near me, you not only come to know me more deeply, you come to know yourself more deeply. Look back at the moments you were still before me. Were those not the times you were most clear? Were those not the times you knew what mattered and released what did not? Were those not the times you sensed the direction you should take? Without needing endless analysis, you thought it was intuition. But it was my voice speaking within you. Therefore, every day of rest does more than renew your soul. It draws you closer to what I destined for your life more than any effort you could exert in the 6 other days. When you sit with me, I teach you to see life not through the lens of fear, but through the lens of destiny. When you listen to me, I teach you to discern what is my voice, what is fear's voice, and what is the voice of pressures not sent by me. When you allow me to lead you, you begin stepping into things you once thought impossible, not because they were too large, but because your heart was once too restless to believe you could. My child, I do not merely speak about what I want to do with you. I place my hands on the deepest layers of your soul, reshaping, healing, correcting, and rebuilding every part that has drifted from my original design. For no revelation can stand firm if the soul carrying it remains bent by old wounds, by self-imposed narratives, by insecurities planted by this world, or by invisible strings that cause you to react in fear rather than in freedom. Each time you step into rest, you allow me to do what the other 6 days cannot, to touch the deepest corners of your being, the parts you hide, the parts you avoid, the parts you yourself do not know how to reach. There are wounds you think you have forgotten, but they are only covered by the dust of time. There are fears you assume you overcame, but they still wait in the shadows, ready to rise at the slightest trigger. There are cracks in the rooms of your mind, masked by responsibility, by work, by busyness, by the repeated, "I'm fine," you tell others, because you do not want anyone to see the true hurt. The day of rest is when I enter that room, light my lamp, examine each hidden corner, and begin doing what you cannot do on your own, undoing, unraveling, and renewing. I remove the thoughts that make you smaller than I created you to be. I remove the definitions that did not come from me but which you unknowingly believed for years. I remove the comparisons that caused you to lose sight of yourself. I remove the hurtful words others placed on you. I remove the habits shaped by your wounds, so you may begin responding from truth instead of pain. You do not realize how much these things have shaped you until you place yourself in my rest, where I illuminate you with my gentle but precise light. On the day of rest, I do not rebuke you for your weakness, nor do I blame you for believing lies. I simply peel away each layer, like a potter patiently scraping off excess clay to reveal the true form of the vessel. Many things came to you early through the environment you grew up in, through the way others treated you, through events beyond your endurance, through harsh words you heard too often. But my child, even though these things shaped you into a form not belonging to me, I do not allow that form to be the final word. I am the God who restores. I am the God who renews. I am the God who rewrites stories. I am the God who makes the crooked straight, makes the withered bloom, and brings back to beauty what seemed beyond repair. And the day of rest is my potter's wheel, the place where I place your soul and reshape it with my loving hands. My beloved child, you do not perceive my work in you by sight. You perceive it through the lightness settling in your heart, the clarity rising in your mind, the calmness you once never possessed, the unexplainable relief, the freedom no sermon can manufacture. You perceive it through the subtle but undeniable shift in which the things that once terrified you suddenly lose their power. You perceive it through the way your old worries no longer sit on your chest with the same weight. You perceive it through the way the actions of others, once so capable of wounding you, no longer command your reactions. This is how I recreate your soul, not through the methods of the world, not through pressure or force, but through rest, a practice that seems simple, yet carries a strength far greater than any technique the world can produce. Do you remember the ancient story when I led my people out of Egypt? They were freed by power, yet their souls were still shaped by the long years of slavery. They left that place, but that place had not left them, and I used the moments of rest in the wilderness to teach them how to live as free people, not as those compelled by fear. I used rest to renew their perception, to break the mindset of bondage, to restore their identity. They could not enter the promised land unless I rebuilt them from within. So it is with you. You cannot enter the purpose I have for you if your soul still bears the outline of the old life. I never pour new wine into old wineskins. I renew the vessel so that it may carry what I intend to pour. This is why the day of rest is where I prepare you, adjusting and aligning you so that you may receive more higher, deeper, stronger. There are things I long to entrust to you now, but I cannot yet do so because your soul is not strong enough to carry them. There are responsibilities waiting, yet you are not quiet enough within to sustain them. There are great blessings already written for you, but you must first be restored at the root so that they do not crush you. In the place of rest, I heal the parts you are afraid to touch. I mend the parts you believe are beyond repair. I reshape the fragments you think have shattered beyond recovery. I do all of this with the gentleness of the Creator, the one who holds dust in his hands yet forms it into life. And when I finish each layer of this renewing work, you will realize that you no longer live by reaction, but by the new nature I have placed within you. You will no longer respond out of old wounds, but out of the truth I speak. You will no longer react from fear, but from the peace that comes from me. You will no longer act from brokenness, but from wholeness. You will no longer be driven by instinct, but guided by the Spirit. You will realize you are not the same person you once were. And this change will be so deep, so quiet, so transformative that those around you will sense it even before you do. My beloved child, the transformation I bring into you never stays contained inside. It always finds its way outward, shaping every part of your life, every relationship, every responsibility, every decision, every small thought. No inner change that comes from me remains without effect. No healing of the soul I perform remains separate from the way you walk. No renewal of the mind fails to bloom into wisdom in action. The recreation I perform on the day of rest is unlike the change the world imposes. It does not begin with your effort to adjust yourself, but with my touch upon the deepest layers of your being. And when the root is changed, the fruit naturally follows. When the source is purified, the stream will run clean. When the foundation is rebuilt, the house will stand firm. So do not be surprised when one day you realize you respond differently to things that once overwhelmed you. Do not be surprised when you find yourself gentle in moments where you once reacted sharply. Do not be surprised when you remain calm in situations that once robbed you of peace. These shifts do not come because you are trying to be strong. They come because I have done what effort alone could never achieve. I have transformed your very nature from within. This transformation becomes so deep that your outward life begins flowing along a new trajectory. If before you chose based on fear, now you will choose based on trust. If before your decisions were shaped by external pressure, now they will be shaped by my voice. If before you responded from woundedness, now you will respond from truth. If before you worked from exhaustion, now you will work from rest. If before you chased people for approval, now you will follow me for alignment. This transformation pours into every area. It fills the way you love, so that your love is no longer built on lack, but on the fullness you have in me. It fills the way you forgive, enabling you to release what once held you captive for years. It fills the way you speak, so your words carry healing rather than harm. It fills the way you walk, so your steps are no longer hurried like someone being chased, but steady like someone who knows the Father walks beside them. Once, you worked to prove your worth, to survive, to keep up, to avoid being left behind. But when your soul is recreated, you work not to be accepted, but because you already are, not to earn love, but because you are already loved, not to prove anything, but to express the faithfulness I have placed within you. Work becomes the place where your rest is displayed, not lost. It becomes the place where you reveal me through patience, integrity, quiet strength, and steadiness of heart. My beloved child, for many years, there have been people who caused you deep sorrow through reactions birthed from their own unhealed wounds. But when I renew your soul, even those relationships are touched by my hand. You will find yourself less shaken by careless words, less swayed by another's inconsistency, less wounded by behaviors that once crushed you. You will no longer love with a fragile heart, but with a soul reinforced by me. You will love without fear of losing. You will give without fear of running dry. You will stand firm without needing anyone to affirm that you are on the right path. This inner transformation leads you into a new level of maturity, a place where the small things that once disappointed you now only draw a gentle smile. The things that once kept you awake at night no longer hold the same power. The voices that once directed your decisions now fade into distant echoes. The fears that once paralyzed you become nothing more than shadows without authority. You do not become numb, you become strong in me. And that strength spreads into every corner of your life. When I recreate you, you will be positioned before doors you could never enter before. Not because I closed the old ones, but because your shape has changed. There are doors of victory, of calling, of influence, of assignment that your soul could not carry while it was still bruised. If I opened them too early, they would have harmed you. But now, with your spirit steady, your mind renewed, your heart no longer bent out of shape by the past, I can safely open these doors before you. Transformation on the outside also begins when I teach you to release what no longer belongs to you. There are things you once gripped tightly because you believed they were your safety, when they were only remnants of your old self. When I restore you, you will release them without sorrow, for you will sense that I am leading you towards something better. You will leave the places that made you small to enter the places where I will make you grow. You will walk away from busyness that bears no fruit, to step into what carries eternal meaning. You will cease repeating cycles that exhausted you, and instead move into the rhythm I set for those who rest in me. Everything that changes outwardly is not the result of effort, but the evidence that I have touched the core of your heart. The outside is always the reflection of the inside, and when your inner being is renewed, everything around you will align accordingly. My beloved, when your journey reaches this height, I want you to understand that rest is not the finish line, it is the launching ground. Renewal is not the end goal, it is the preparation. Inner transformation is not only for you to live better, it is so you may become one who carries my light, my life, my breath to souls who are withered and searching without knowing what they long for. No encounter with me ever stops with you. Every holy encounter carries within it an invitation to step into something greater than yourself. The season I am leading you into is unlike the seasons before. This is no longer a season of merely receiving, being nourished, being healed, being built from within. This is the season you step out as one sent by my own hand, placed in the right place, at the right moment, under the right circumstances, to reveal me through your presence, through your words, through your decisions, through the unwavering peace that the world cannot manufacture. You are not being sent to work for yourself, but to carry my intention as an ambassador of a kingdom not of this world. You once thought that to be sent, you had to be flawless without mistakes, strong enough, bold enough, talented enough, holy enough. But, child, I have never sent people because of their perfection. I send them because of their willingness. I do not seek unblemished vessels. I seek vessels willing to be filled. I do not use those confident in their own strength. I use those who lean on me with every breath. You do not need to become someone else to be used by me. You only need to become true to the soul I have reshaped in the place of rest. This season of commissioning is not a season of noise, but a season of sharpness. You will not move like one swinging a sword wildly in the dark, but like a skilled worker who knows when to speak and when to remain silent, when to open your heart and when to stand firm. The sharpness I give you does not come from knowledge, but from rest. In rest, you discern what is my voice, what is emotion, what is temptation, and what is pressure. And when you learn to hear rightly, you will act rightly, not by striving, but by harmony with my spirit. Where I send you will not always be a distant land. Sometimes it is your own family, your workplace, the daily conversations, the ordinary mornings you think hold nothing significant. Yet I am there. I desire to use each step you take as a declaration that light still shines in the darkness. I desire to use your voice as a gentle stream that soothes broken hearts. I desire to use the peace within you to whisper to someone else. You do not have to carry this alone, my beloved child. This commissioning settles into your life like breath. It does not require you to carry a heavy burden. It invites you into a gentle yet powerful rhythm where you do not work for me, but work with me. The difference between the two is as vast as heaven and earth. When people work for me without walking with me, they easily burn out. But when you work with me, you remain in the flow of life, peace, guidance, and continuous renewal. You do not run dry because you pour from a source that never empties. I allowed you to walk through a season of renewal, not so you would keep it for yourself, but so you would become a refuge for others. I know there are people in this world who live their entire lives without ever encountering a soul safe enough for them to reveal their truth. I know there are people around you, though they never say it, who carry sorrows heavier than their own bodies. I know there are those who tell themselves they must be strong, while deep within them, a silent cry for help is rising. You are the one I have placed beside them, not to judge, not to change them by your own strength, but to reveal my presence through yours. Do not think that being commissioned requires doing something grand. There are times when a gentle word can alter an entire lifetime. There are moments when a kind smile rescues a soul standing at the edge. There are small acts done with sincere love that open doors for others to believe that I am near. Commissioning begins with such small things, yet its impact reaches into eternity. From the moment you stepped into rest, you stepped into the season of being sent. Not a season of preparing to be used, but a season of being used even while still being prepared. I always work in parallel. I heal you and I send you. I renew you and I use you. I build you and through you I lift others. And this season of your life is the place where those two streams meet most powerfully. Child, I say this with profound love. What I have done in you is the evidence of what I will do through you. The rest within you will become a place where others find peace. The renewal within you will become testimony for those who think their hearts cannot be mended. The transformation within you will become light for souls wandering in fog. The depth of communion between you and me will become the oil that soothes wounds the world has inflicted on many. I have prepared you not to stand still, but to step into a season of purpose, not with panic, but with steadiness, not with strain, but with rest, not with fear, but with the assurance that I am with you, my child. When I bring you into a season of commissioning, I do not send you into a battlefield with empty hands and a weary heart. I send you with the deepest rest in your soul, with renewal already woven into you, with a peace no pressure can reach. For my commissioning is not like the commissioning of the world. The world sends with heavy orders, frantic timelines, unreasonable demands, and pressure to prove worth. But I send you with the gentleness of my spirit, with the breath of life, with a flow that never forces but always guides, with the soft whisper of my presence. I do not want you to enter this season chained by fear of doing wrong, or anxious that you will not do enough, or haunted by the belief that you must accomplish something great to be worthy of my calling. Those thoughts do not come from me. They come from the remnants of your life before I renewed you. Commissioning is not built on results. It is built on obedience, not on brilliance, but on alignment, not on human strength, but on my presence in you and through you. This season of being sent does not ask you to run faster. It teaches you to step in rhythm. In my eyes, stability matters more than speed, depth more than visibility, faithfulness more than brilliance. You do not need to shine for me to use you. You only need to stand where I place you. My light through you will do the rest. Many step into their calling and quickly burn out, not because I did not call them, but because they carried the world's pace instead of mine. They dragged urgency, anxiety, striving, expectation, and pressure into their assignment, and their minds became tight with tension. But you are different. You have been renewed from within. You have learned to rest in me, and I want you to keep that rhythm as you enter this season of purpose. That rhythm is not stagnation. It is a steady, gentle flow, powerful enough to break any barrier. It is not slowness. It is the pace of wisdom, the pace of discernment, the pace of someone who knows they are being led. It is not passivity. It is devotion without strain, faithfulness without force, and giving without depletion. My beloved, I want you to learn a sacred art, the art of walking with the Spirit. This is not a skill, it is a rhythm, not a method, but a deep harmony between your soul and my movement. When the Spirit urges, you step. When He tells you to pause, you pause. When He draws you towards someone, you smile. Open your heart and allow me to speak through you. When He calls you to silence, you do not defend or explain. When He asks you to wait, you do not run ahead. When He asks you to move, you do not hesitate. To operate in your calling is simply to live each day in step with my Spirit. And when you live like this, you will be astonished at how your life glows with a grace you cannot explain. You will go without exhaustion, for you do not go alone. You will work without heaviness, for strength does not come from you. You will love without depletion, for the love in you is not generated by you, but poured through you from me. My commissioning does not run on effort, it runs on presence. I do not tell you, do it on your own. I tell you, I am with you. I do not say, carry it yourself. I say, place it on me. I do not say, do it for me. I say, let me do it through you. This difference changes everything. When you act for me, you burn out. When you act with me, you bloom. When you rely on your own strength, you fail. When you rely on mine, you witness the impossible. I know you fear not being enough, you fear failing, disappointing others, not measuring up, not being worthy of being used by me. But child, I have never searched for the qualified, I search for the willing. Sufficiency comes from me. Strength comes from me. Wisdom comes from me. Courage comes from me. Wholeness comes from me. You only need to hold on to this, stay close to me. Closeness to me is how you operate. Closeness to me is your protection. Closeness to me is your renewal. Closeness to me is your discernment. Closeness to me is your authority. My commissioning placed upon you is not as heavy as you think. It is as light as the breath I place in your lungs. For you do not carry the kingdom on your shoulders, you carry it in your heart. You are not responsible for saving anyone, you are responsible for sowing love. You do not make me proud by achievements, but by faithfulness, by keeping your heart soft, by remaining at rest, by staying dependent on me in each small, ordinary moment. My beloved child, there are assignments I give that are profoundly quiet. No applause follows them. No recognition comes. No one notices. But I know, I see, I hold them close, and those hidden works are often the greatest seeds in my kingdom, because they are sown in purity, in faithfulness that seeks no praise. I do not send you so that you will strive. I send you so that you may move in rhythm with me. When you walk in my rhythm, you are never left behind. When you speak in my timing, your words are never misplaced. When you act under my guidance, you never lose your way. When you remain in me, the fruit will come on its own. I declare to you that this season of commissioning will not drain you. It will strengthen you. It will open to you things you have never seen, never imagined, never dared to believe. It will lead you into encounters I prepared long before this moment, into divine appointments where you suddenly realize, this is far bigger than me. Beloved, now that your journey has reached its fullness through layers of rest, renewal, transformation, and commissioning that I have unfolded before you, I desire to place within you a seal no force in time can undo. I desire to imprint my word upon your soul as an everlasting mark so that no matter which season you step into, no matter where you go, no matter who stands before you, no matter what pressure rises against you, You will always know that you do not walk alone. You do not act alone. You do not breathe alone. You do not battle alone. You do not love alone, for I have covered you with my very presence. What I have built within you is not only for a season, not only for a chapter, not only for a short arc of your life. I have established in you an eternal foundation. What you have received from me is not merely to help you overcome present trials, but to make you one who stands firm through your entire journey, not merely one who endures, but one who blooms, not merely one who survives, but one who carries life, not merely one who is healed, but one who becomes an instrument of healing. I have seen your path marked with wounds, with zeal that once burned bright, then faded, with hopes that became as fragile as breath, with nights where you cried until no tears remained, with whispered prayers spoken in solitude, with moments where you believed I had forgotten you. But child, I never forgot. I was present in every breath you took, every heartbeat you carried, every moment you wanted to let go but still held on. I carried you in the hours when you could not sense me. I sustained you when you had no strength to sustain yourself. I covered you with mercy even when you felt unworthy of it. And now, as every layer of revelation stands open, I want you to know this. You have crossed into a new chapter, one where old weaknesses no longer govern you, where former shadows no longer imprison you, where rest is no longer something you chase, but something you live in daily, where inner transformation is no longer a process but a nature, where your commissioning is no longer something you fear, but something you step into with confidence and peace. My child, this final section is where I place upon your life my highest, strongest, and most sacred declaration. Open your heart fully and receive every word I speak. My beloved, I declare to you, I place my name upon you. When I place my name upon someone, I give them purpose, authority, protection, and eternal hope. My name is not a label. It is a spiritual seal, a covering, a covenant, a declaration that you belong to an unshakable kingdom. No force of darkness can erase this mark. No accusation can remove it. No storm can diminish it. You carry my name not to boast, but to know that you are never alone. I give you authority to walk in the light, not authority to rule over people, but authority to stand firm before everything that once made you tremble. Authority to close the door to your past. Authority to step into things that once seemed impossible. Authority to say no to darkness and yes to what I speak. Authority to bring peace into places filled with unrest. Authority to love where hearts have run dry. Authority to heal where wounds have been deep. You will no longer move by impulse. You will move by the wind of my spirit. You will no longer react from wounds. You will respond from the truth I have woven into your soul. You will no longer walk in fear. You will walk in a peace so strong no one can take it from you. I place upon your life a blessing, one that will not accompany you only in this season, but for the rest of your days. I bless you with the steadiness of Mount Zion, with the gentleness of my breath, with the depth of underground rivers hidden beneath the earth, with the purity of dawn light, with the endurance of fire in the refining furnace, and with the tenderness of my whisper in the night. I bless you with eyes that see what I am doing even when circumstances seem silent. I bless you with ears that recognize my voice amid noise. I bless you with a heart that discerns what belongs to me and what does not. I bless your feet to walk the right path, not running ahead, not wandering off, not drawn aside by easy roads that lead to loss. Beloved child, I bless those you touch. I bless the environments you step into. I bless the relationships I place in your life. I bless your work so that it becomes the canvas on which you reveal me in every detail. I bless your words so that each one becomes a seed in the hearts of those who hear you. I bless your very presence so that anyone near you feels the warmth of mine. And finally, I speak this, my sacred commissioning, the word that closes one chapter but opens another. Go in my peace. Live in my light. Walk in my rest. Move in my authority. And love with my heart. For I am with you all the days of your life, even to the end of the age. My child, this is my final seal. This is my mark. This is the word of the Creator, the Redeemer, the Shepherd of your soul. Thank you for listening to today's message. Please subscribe and turn on the notification bell so we can continue receiving the living words together, building an unshakable faith, and walking in the boundless love of God. Amen.